Emotional intelligence, EI, is the ability to understand and manage your own emotions, empathize with others, and navigate relationships effectively. Unlike IQ, which is relatively fixed, EI can be learned and developed throughout life. In our increasingly distracted world, understanding emotional intelligence has become more critical than ever, not just for personal success, but for our ability to focus and thrive in an attention-fragmented landscape. At its core, emotional intelligence rests on four interconnected pillars that work together to shape how we think, feel, and act. Self-awareness forms the foundation of emotional intelligence. It's the capacity to understand what we feel and why we feel it. This awareness underpins intuition, shapes our decision-making processes, and guides our moral judgments. When we're self-aware, we recognize our emotional triggers, understand our strengths and limitations, and can anticipate how our feelings might influence our choices. Self-management builds on this awareness by enabling us to regulate distressing emotions so they don't derail our goals. It's not about suppressing feelings, but rather harnessing positive emotions to stay motivated and passionate about what matters to us. People with strong self-management can calm themselves during stress, persist through challenges, and maintain emotional balance even in turbulent circumstances. Empathy extends emotional intelligence outward, allowing us to sense and understand the emotions of others. This involves cognitive empathy, the ability to take another person's perspective, emotional empathy, which means actually feeling with others, and empathic concern, a genuine caring about their well-being. Empathy is the bridge that connects us to others and forms the basis of meaningful relationships. Relationship management uses our awareness and empathy to lead, influence, inspire, and foster productive interpersonal connections. Leaders with strong relationship management skills can navigate conflicts, build trust, motivate teams, and create environments where people genuinely want to contribute their best work. The impact of emotional intelligence extends far beyond individual improvement. It transforms schools, workplaces, and entire organizations. Research on social emotional learning programs demonstrates that teaching EI in schools produces measurable improvements in student behavior, academic performance, and social skills. Students develop better self-control, manage conflicts more constructively, and create more supportive peer relationships. These benefits often persist well into adulthood, affecting everything from career success to mental health. Leadership studies consistently reveal that emotional intelligence is essential for effective leadership and fostering high-performing teams. The most successful leaders aren't necessarily those with the highest IQs or most impressive credentials. They're the ones who can read a room, adapt their approach to different people, and inspire genuine commitment in their teams. These leaders create psychological safety where people feel comfortable taking risks and being authentic. An important finding across decades of research is that while men and women may have different average strengths in certain EI domains, high-performing leaders excel across all four domains regardless of gender. This suggests that EI mastery is more about individual development than innate differences. Cultural context also shapes how emotional intelligence is expressed. Different cultures have different norms around emotional expression, communication styles, and decision-making approach. However, the fundamental capacity to understand and manage emotions, connect with others, and navigate relationships appears to be universal across human societies. Understanding why you can't focus anymore requires examining the relationship between emotional intelligence and attention. The ability to concentrate deeply is not simply a neurological function. It's intimately connected to our emotional state and how we manage our internal experience. Flow, also called the optimal performance state, represents peak human function. Flow is characterized by total focus on the task at hand, mental flexibility that allows you to adapt as needed, a perfect alignment between the challenge of the task and your skill level, and a genuine sense of enjoyment in the process. When you're in flow, time seems to disappear, self-consciousness fades, and you perform at your best. Athletes call it being in the zone, artists call it being in the groove, and performers describe it as the moment when everything clicks. Leaders and managers can deliberately create conditions that help others achieve flow by setting clear goals, providing immediate feedback on progress, and carefully matching task difficulty to individual abilities. They enable the sustained attention that flow requires. This is why micromanagement fails so catastrophically. It prevents the autonomy and clear feedback loops that flow demand. Central to this process is what neuroscientists call the social brain and the role of mirror neurons. Mirror neurons, brain cells that fire both when we act and when we observe others acting, help leaders sense and influence the emotional states of others. When a leader is calm and focused, team members mirror that state. When a leader is anxious or distracted, that emotional contagion spreads too. This neurological reality means that creating better team performance starts with managing your own emotional state. And attention, here's what many people miss. Attention is not a fixed trait you're born with. It's a mental muscle that can be strengthened through mindfulness and intentional practice. This is fundamentally important because it means your ability to focus can improve. However, modern life presents unprecedented challenges to attention. Digital devices designed to capture and hold our focus fragment our capacity for deep concentration. Social media platforms employ teams of engineers specifically tasked with making their apps more addictive. Notifications interrupt our work constantly. The always-on culture creates a sense of urgency that makes it difficult to settle into sustained focus. The good news is that practices like mindful breathing directly improve attentional capacity and emotional regulation. Even brief periods of focused attention practice, just 5 or 10 minutes of mindful breathing, strengthen the neural circuits involved in concentration. Over time, these practices create measurable improvements in your ability to stay focused and manage the emotional reactions that distraction triggers. Many of our struggles with attention and emotional regulation originate in childhood experiences literally shape brain development through neuroplasticity, the brain's remarkable ability to form new neural connections throughout life. Early trauma or chronic stress can impair the development of attention and self-regulation circuit. Conversely, supportive environments that teach these skills create stronger neural foundations. Early training in attention, self-regulation, empathy, and social skills produces measurable long-term benefits. Children who receive social emotional learning show improvements not just in the short term, but in academic achievement, emotional well-being, and social competence years later. These benefits compound throughout life. Specific techniques like social emotional learning, SEL programs, and simple exercises such as breathing buddies, where children practice synchronized breathing with a partner, foster self-control and attention in developmentally appropriate ways. These practices aren't frivolous feel-good activities, they're building essential neural infrastructure. The famous marshmallow test, where children who could delay gratification showed better long-term outcomes, demonstrates something crucial. The ability to manage immediate impulses and maintain focus on distant goals predicts life success beyond IQ or socioeconomic factors. This capacity for delayed gratification is fundamentally an emotional intelligence skill, managing the emotional impulse for immediate gratification in service of larger goals. The insights from emotional intelligence research translate directly into actionable strategies for improving focus in your own life and helping others do the same. Leaders and educators can deliberately create environments that strengthen both emotional intelligence and attention. This means matching tasks to people's actual skill levels, not so easy that they're bored, not so difficult that they're overwhelmed. It means providing constructive feedback that helps people understand their progress. It means consciously promoting positive emotional states because anxiety and stress literally impair the brain circuits responsible for attention and decision-making. For yourself, mindfulness and structured attention training produce measurable benefits. Start small, 5 minutes of daily focused breathing practice, and gradually extend your attention capacity. Notice the emotional states that either support or undermine your focus. Some people focus best when they feel slightly challenged and energized. Others need calm and safety. Understanding your personal attention needs is itself an act of self-awareness. Encouraging empathy and healthy social interactions builds stronger, more cooperative communities where everyone's capacity for focus improves. When people feel genuinely connected to others and understand how their work affects them, focus becomes easier because the work feels meaningful rather than like a grinding obligation. The real reason you can't focus anymore isn't primarily about willpower or discipline. It's about the state of your emotional intelligence and the emotional environment you inhabit. By intentionally developing emotional intelligence in yourself, in your children, in your teams, and in your organizations, you create the internal and external conditions where sustained attention becomes possible. When you understand and manage your emotions, when you feel genuinely connected to others, when tasks align with your abilities and feel meaningful, focus flows naturally. The path to better concentration isn't through more willpower, it's through developing the emotional intelligence that makes deep focus possible.